Hi YouTube! I hope everyone had a happy new year and enjoyed their holidays. Today's video is my tips on thrifting. Tip number 1. Before you even go anywhere, step out of your house, you want to Google local thrift stores near your area. This gives you an idea of where you want to go, and I would suggest going somewhere where there's at least 2 thrift stores near the same range, just in case you don't find something in the first one, you're not completely discouraged and you didn't just waste all your gas going there for no reason. So if you have 2 thrift stores that are close in range, that way you can go to both of them if you're unsuccessful with the first one. Tip number 2. My personal advice is to thrift alone. This is for a few reasons. One, it's less stressful depending on who you're bringing along with you. For example, if it's children, I definitely think you should leave your kids at home and you should shop alone. It's very stressful to bring kids around. Thrifting is very time consuming and you have to be very patient with it. So bringing kids around is just going to stress you out and it's going to not make your trip as pleasant. This leads me to my third tip, which is go when you have time and patience. Thrifting is not necessarily the same as regular shopping where you kind of know where each store is and you kind of more or less know what you're looking for. I mean, unless you're going with the motive to find specifically a certain item, but because the thrift store is set up in a way where everything's jumbled up together, you don't really know what you're going to find. So I would go on a day that you have some time to spare and you're in a good mood. You don't want to go on a day where you're rushing or you're running late for doing things, because then you're not gonna find the best items when you go. My fourth tip is to ask employees when their new shipments come in and when they put the actual items out on the sales floor. So I know, for example, Goodwill has new shipments every day, but that doesn't mean that every day specifically the employees are putting out the items on the sales floor. And if they do, you want to know what time, because more or less there's a specific time that they do it. So that way you're aware of new items coming in. My fifth tip is to avoid shopping on weekends. I know this could be difficult if you work a 9 to 5. The reason why I say avoid weekends is because everybody's off of work, everybody goes on the weekend, it gets packed, it gets really messy, you have to wait a long time for a fitting room, and it's just not as of a pleasant experience if you were to go during the week when there's less people. I find it more soothing to go when nobody else is there. Mondays, I don't like to go on Mondays just because everything that's left over from the weekend is left on Mondays, so everyone already took all the good stuff. So Mondays I don't really find anything. I like to go Tuesday through Thursday. I feel like those are like my, how do I say it, my scoring days. If you do work Monday through Friday and you can't go during the weekday, I would suggest going early in the morning, pretty much as soon as they open. That way you have first dibs on things. Pay attention to weekly or color discounts. Goodwill has a specific color every week that has a discount, and they'll have either like a poster on the window, or if you go inside you can ask. If you go to like Salvation Army or any other thrift store, they always have some sort of sale or promotion. So when going in, I would make sure to ask so that you're aware. That if you want to be a pro thrifter or you want to be successful and find all the good stuff, you really need to go through everything. This is why thrifting I don't think is meant for everybody. You have to be very patient, and if you do want to find good stuff, you have to go through those racks. If you're overwhelmed with going through everything, I would suggest going to the shoe department or the accessories department first, just because that way that you can feel like it's more manageable and you can see kind of what's going on there, and then as you progress with your thrifting, you know, move on to the bigger sections, which is like the women's clothing and all of that. Visit the men's section. If you're into rock tees or just plain oversized t-shirts and sometimes even hats, I would go to the men's section because that's where I find a lot of like rock band tees, and I found some cool hats there too. I think this is a very important tip before even going thrifting is know your style. You don't want to go to the thrift store without having a clear idea of what your style is. The reason being is that you'll end up buying a whole bunch of items that you'll never wear, and that will end up right back into donation, which is wasting your money. This is also for like when you regularly shop as well. I know shopping can be difficult for a lot of people. Thrifting, because you don't know what you're going to find, it can be overwhelming if you're not clear on what you specifically like. Sometimes I'll find items that I think are cute, but I know I will never wear, or I'll probably will wear once and never again. So I try to avoid those items, and I try to ask myself, will I actually wear this? Good social media site to use to help you develop and figure out what your style is, I would say, is Pinterest. You can create boards and start pinning things that you like, and then afterwards, after like a certain amount of time, look at your boards and see what you can kind of figure out what your style is or what it is that you're more gravitated towards. My next tip is to think creative when you're thrifting. I get a lot of ideas from Pinterest, so sometimes when I'm thrifting, I have those ideas in my mind. So I'm like, hey, I can use this pillowcase to make whatever. Don't focus on size. So sizing can be different at the thrift store just because there's a lot of vintage items, and different brands have different sizings, and I feel like the vintage items were a lot smaller in size back then, so a size 10 is like a real size, is like a size 6 now. So I wouldn't focus too much on sizing. I would kind of more just eyeball it and see, okay, you know, kind of using your common sense, this looks way too big for me, or this kind of looks like it could fit, and even though it has a different size than your actual size, I would still try it on. This leads me to trying on your clothes. I know some people don't like to try things on, they're kind of disgusted. I personally go prepared. I make sure I shower after I go to the thrift store, not before. And I wear Uggs, yoga pants, something I can easily slip in and out of, just because I know I'm going to be trying on a lot of items. One of the last steps is to review and inspect. You're going to do this after you try on your items. I like to take a few seconds or a few minutes on the side to go through everything and really think about the items that I want to take. And there's 3 main questions that I always find myself asking. Will I actually wear it? Can it easily be fixed? Purchase it if you absolutely love it or have an idea of how you're going to wear it. The reason why I say this is because sometimes I find things, I'm like, oh, it's kind of cute. But honestly, that kind of attitude is not good enough for you to go spend your money on something, because that just means you're probably going to wear it once and never again, or probably not at all. You want to buy something that you're absolutely going to love and that you're excited about wearing. Final last tip. I get this question, I feel, or assumption, just because I find a lot of nice items or good items at the thrift store. There is no magical thrift store or Goodwill. The reason why I find the items that I do is because I do multiple trips during a week. I at least go once a week, but honestly I go like once to twice a week, and sometimes even 3 times. But I go to different thrifts. Remember that sometimes you're just gonna go empty-handed. I have been bummed out sometimes where I just go home and I found absolutely nothing. Alright everybody, so those were my tips for thrifting. Comment below if you have any other questions for me and what you want to see next. I'll see you in the next one.